Hi, this is Patrick with Trusty Huckster Mercantile, and I'm doing something a little bit different with this video. I'm going to do a haul video, but I actually had enough shipments going out this first week of December, from December 1st through December 7th, that I'm going to make it its own video. Hopefully the intention will be make it shorter, and maybe more people will want to sit down and go through it. So this is everything that it's sold from December 1st through December 7th on my Etsy store, which can be found at TH Mercantile. It stands for Trusty Huckster Mercantile, through Etsy. So let's see what we sold. So while this is going to show my Etsy sales for, again, the week of December 1st through December 7th, and I did have 7 sales during that time, so it averages 1 per day. I'm not quite to the point of receiving 1 order per day, so it averaged out that way, but my first order actually came in on December 2nd, and it was actually a really nice surprise because although the piece is very pretty, it's a piece of pottery. The lid of it is in an individually shaped and formed rose. Each rose petal is individual. It was a very nice piece. It wasn't getting a lot of traction, and you can actually see in the summary it only ever had 2 visits, and one of them resulted in the sale. So as I watch what's going up, I'm always trying to keep an eye on what's doing well, what's getting favorited, what's getting visits, what's showing up in search engines. And that's what I'm learning about Etsy is in some cases, since you really can only do a search with 13 keywords, keyword searches or terms, I don't want to get into the game of playing like clickbait or anything. I'm trying to get people to click on stuff through weird searches. So I'm trying to be relevant, but with only 2, I was afraid this thing was never going to sell, and it only takes 1 person. So it was a great piece that I had found early on, probably in a Goodwill. I don't exactly remember where this one came from. I think it cost me, actually I think this one came from a garage sale. I think it cost me 50 cents. So I didn't put much on it. I sold it for 20, which included the shipping, because it wasn't a name. There wasn't a label. It was art pottery. It was somebody's project. It was very lovely done, but you have to be able to find it. So I sold it for 20, super excited about that, and that shipped out on December 2nd. On December 3rd, I did receive another order, and this one was for a set of 4 Harmony Kingdom ornaments. Admittedly, I had never heard of Harmony Kingdom. They were dated 1998. It was part of a limited edition. It came in its original box. The original box did have its barcode or price tag and barcode on it. And you can see the price tag was originally $99.99, and that was in 1998. So these things were something special at the time they came up. And I did pay up for them. This was at a private or independent thrift store. They were selling them for $9. And so I just did a little bit of clicking, did a little search while I was there, and turned out they were selling for pretty decent money. So I put them on there. One of them, I can't remember which one it was. One of them, the head, I think it was the weird frog creature. Apologize if anyone's really into it. I don't know all their names. But the little frog creature, the hat, all of them have parts of their body that came off, whether their entire head came off, or in this case his hat. It didn't want to screw on all the way, so you can kind of see that there's a little bit of a gap. So I was very clear in the description to say that it seems like it's something that should just be able to screw on, but for whatever reason it didn't want to go on, so I didn't want to force it because I didn't want to crack anything because it's resin. So I was very upfront about that in the description. But they still ended up selling for $35, including shipping, and the box wasn't heavy at all. So it was still $9. So I didn't make a huge amount of money, but there was a very nice dollar amount profit that definitely recouped the $9 that I put in. The next item that I had sold came in on the next day. So we skipped the first, then I had an order on the second, order on the third, and then 3 orders on the fourth. So one of them was for a pair of plate and bowl of the Beatrix Potter from Wedgwood. This is actually 2 pieces to a 3-piece set, but the third piece is the child's mug. And let's be honest, what child is drinking from a porcelain mug? So not that I chose not to carry it, I just didn't have it. So I did price it. I didn't price it as its complete set, but it was the cereal bowl, which had the Mrs. Rabbit design. And that actually seemed to be the more valuable piece of the 3. So I sold them together. I didn't want to deal with splitting them up. and ended up selling for 25 bucks. I had $1.99 in for the pair. Actually, probably $1.98. I think each of them are 99 cents. So $1.98 in for the pair. And based on comps, they were selling pretty well. And this is another kind of a good example. There were only 6 visits to it, but it did end up landing. But that one had been on, I think that was one of the earlier items that I had posted. So it was up there for almost 2 months before it got sold without a lot of activity. But again, just finds the right person. The next piece I was really excited to sell because I had started promotion. If you watched some of the earlier videos, on December 1st, I started a promotion which was a fundraiser for the Just One More Dachshund Rescue, JOMDR.org. And 10% of any item that has a dog in it would get 10% of the purchase price will be donated to JOMDR. So this item, I have a feeling, is one of the first items that I sold specifically because of that sale. If you looked at the previous Sold What Sold video, there was a sale the weekend right before the first, on November 30th. I sold a big bulldog planter that I'd had for a while. It was a beautiful piece from Penco. Technically, I had always said the promotion was going to run the month of December, but I had started talking about it, so it's possible that that bulldog had sold as part of that promotion. So I am going to make a donation for the sale price of the bulldog. Will also go to JOMDR just to be safe. But this was definitely the first time. Only 2 visits, and one of them bought because it is a dachshund rescue, and this was for a vintage dachshund. Now, this one is unmarked. I tried to have the best quality items that I can in all cases, but because I was running this promotion, I was really on the hunt for dogs, specifically for dachshunds. And so when I found this one, it clearly appeared vintage. It appeared a Japan piece, but there were no labels, there were no marks, there wasn't anything on there. So I tried to price it attractively. It was $15, which included the shipping, and he sold very quickly. The next item, which happened to come in that same day, was another kind of a nice surprise, because this was a set of playing cards this was one of the first items that I had posted. It was maybe the only item that I'd ever purchased from the bag wall at Savers. It was in a bag with a couple odd items, but I specifically wanted this because they were made in Austria. I have a soft spot for Austria and Germany. They were beautifully done, and the package of cards were still sealed. And doing a little bit of digging and just checking online, they were selling pretty well, and they did appear to be vintage, although there's no indication of what year they were actually made. So I kind of ran the risk a little bit on Etsy if this was definitely something prior to 2000, but I felt safe because the box didn't have a UPC barcode on it, that it probably was a little bit older. But again, it wasn't getting a lot of traction. So I only had, I think it was $1.99 into it. I had posted them and sold them for $15. That did include shipping, but again, there was only 3 visits to that item. So I was really wondering if that was going to move. The next item before that, another item that sold on the 5th, so that was 3 on the 4th, had one item come in on the 5th, was another dachshund that came most likely as a result of the JOMDR.org promotion, because they very kindly and very, they benefit from this. They helped me promote the sale and the fundraiser. So another dachshund sold. And this, again, was another unmarked dachshund. It definitely had the vintage appearance. I had no qualms putting it on here as a pre-2000 item, but there was no individual marks. But he was 5.5 inches long, so he was a nice sized little dog. Some great coloring, nice. I personally like the bisque without the shiny glaze. This one happened to have the shiny glaze. Some people prefer that. And it sold fairly quickly because, again, this one had 6 visits. And was able to sell right away, and also sold for $15, which included free shipping. Both of those were so lightweight that I was able to send them first class mail. So I was paying up a little bit for some of these, because basically once I found them, I needed to make sure I'd recoup my costs, of course, but I wasn't overly concerned about getting 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. I was perfectly happy even if I just doubled my money. So I think in this case he probably cost me $2 or $3. So I still made decent money on him. And the next one was an interesting development for me, because that also came in on the 6th, and that was the Lionstone Whiskey Decanter. So this was an item that I had found at a Salvation Army store in Wisconsin, and I found him beautiful. I may mention that I like bisque porcelain, so he's the matte porcelain. He had the shiny cold painted black on his nose. It's for a Lionstone. It's a Kentucky bourbon. It's a pitcher. I don't know how many people put bourbon in a pitcher anymore, but the piece was dated 1973. I just love the looks of him, and so I try to promote with some search terms of man cave and barware. And he's kind of heavy. He's 8.25 inches tall, and he was several pounds in shipping. So this would happen to be a case, and it was the first case that I had this, where somebody reached out to me on Etsy and asked if I would take a lower price. So he was listed at $35, which included free shipping, and this individual actually offered me $25. And I countered back, and I basically had to ask him, where am I going to be shipping it? Because that was what it really came down to. If this was going to be shipping somewhere in Illinois or Wisconsin or Indiana, where I knew the shipping would be less, then I would be more willing to knock the price down. But if I was going to knock the price and then ship it to California, he was going to be a good $15 to ship to California. So I wanted to be careful of what I sold it for. Turned out the gentleman who purchased it was in Lincoln, Nebraska, so it wasn't super cheap shipping, but it also wasn't super expensive. So we ended up negotiating a net price where I said, look, I want $20 for the pitcher plus shipping. So I calculated the shipping and charged him for that, and he was happy with that. So it ended up being, I don't remember now exactly, it ended up being about $29. And the way I did this, and I think this is kind of worth noting, actually I take that back, it was $29.50 I think is what he paid. Because what I ended up doing was, so we were going back and forth on email or through Etsy, not private email. You always want to communicate with your buyers through Etsy and with your sellers through Etsy, so there's a nice track record for it. And when he agreed to the price, I said, okay, well, here's the deal. I went in, marked him up to $58 because I wanted to make sure somebody didn't buy him, because there was a risk if I lowered the price to the price he and I had agreed on, and then let him know, hey, by the way, I've changed the price. It would be available at that price to everyone until he went and bought it. And if he flaked out on me and didn't buy it, or if he was, working that day or whatever and wasn't available, I was afraid it would go to somebody else at that price, and that was not the deal. So I raised the price to $58, so really no one would buy it, and if they did, well, happy day. But I anticipated nobody would buy it for that price. But then I gave him a 50% off coupon. So I upped the price to $59, gave him a 50% coupon, which was applied to this item only. So he couldn't just go through my store and buy everything at 50% off. That's an option you have through Etsy. And so he was able to buy the item for $29.50. So he was very happy. I was very happy. And he got a beautiful picture. I don't know if he's using it for himself or for a gift. He never commented on that. But it was a nice little learning tool that I definitely think is worth keeping in mind, because it is one of those cases that you want to protect your buyers and have a good relationship with them, and you could be doing them a good turn, and it could blow up in your face if somebody happened to find, probably more relevant on more popular items. I don't think the Lionstone pitcher was flying off the shelves, but you never know. So that was a good way to do it. It made the math really simple, and he was perfectly content to do that. And I had done a similar thing when I combined an order previously, and it's just a nice way to do it because it protects your buyer. So that is what's sold on Etsy this week. I don't know if I'll continue doing these, but hopefully since this one's shorter, maybe it'll be more of interest to people, and I'll watch if anybody gives comments, likes, and any more subscriptions as a result of it. And thank you for watching. Again, this is Patrick. I'm with Trusty Huckster Mercantile. Follow me on Etsy, Instagram, and Facebook, all under TH Mercantile. And obviously you found my YouTube channel. So thank you very much, and I'll talk to you again soon.